Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this special Friday the 13th edition of the Burke Brigade, brought to you by The Liberty Daily,
your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report.
Visit thelibertydaily.com, thelibertydaily.com. If you're a Christian, a conservative, a constitutionalist, a good old-fashioned, red-blooded American that wants to restore the values that made America great in the first place, you will love thelibertydaily.com, the fast-growing site that has been called by Rank Politics last month as the #1 conservative news site in America. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we're doing an early edition. We normally, pipe in about 8:30, something along those lines, but we're doing an early Friday edition, not because it's Friday the 13th. We're not superstitious by any stretch, but we've got a car show we want to go to tonight, a classic car show, that features cars from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and we haven't gone in a long time. It's up here in Mesa in a Kmart parking lot, and we just feel like getting out tonight. So we're going to bless you with an early edition of the Burke Brigade. Okay. We're going to give you some stories that maybe haven't been emphasized as much in mainstream media today. And kind of the theme here with all the perversion going on in Hollywood with progressive pervert.
Hollywood Harvey,
Harvey Weinstein, the Democrat mega donor, sexual predator. With all of that going on, there is some pushback from our side, the good side, the righteous side. Not that we are righteous, but we serve the God who is righteous. And we try to do better in our own lives. And we understand if everybody does that, guess what? It automatically makes the country great again. So there is evil in the world, and I'm going to give you an example here.
And continued persecution of Christians. This is
ongoing
and led by the left, and it's the left leading the charge to persecute Christians, suing Christians for not wanting to bake cakes for homosexual weddings, do flowers, whatever, that has led to this.
Right, and it's not a First Amendment issue. It's not a legal issue. It's not even necessarily, although it is in a way, a moral issue. But this is a spiritual warfare.
Yep, amen.
This is good versus evil. And by the way, I'm Matthew Burke.
And I'm Jennifer Burke.
The great Jennifer Burke.
Oh, thanks.
We're the Burke Brigade. And so at the Daily Signal today, and this is an exclusive, the Colorado baker, a Christian baker. Now, he was the same one under attack because he didn't want to bake a fake wedding cake, a homosexual wedding cake, and of course was being sued by the godless. And so now he's coincidentally he's under attack
because obviously he's the only baker,
right,
in the whole state of Colorado. I mean,
right.
Obviously,
right.
I'm being facetious,
of course. So here we go. A Colorado baker is asked to make a birthday cake for Satan. A birthday cake for Satan. Now this is really cute. What the godless pagan left, the godless pagan progressive left is doing.
Just recently tried to stop the House of Representatives from starting their sessions with a prayer and lost.
What they're saying is, oh, you want freedom of religion? We want freedom of religion too. We're Satanists. I mean, they're just coming out boldly declaring who their God is, who the left worships. So they're requesting a cake. Here's what the order said. It is a cake that is religious in theme, and since religion is a protected class, I am hoping that you will gladly bake this cake. As you see, the birthday cake in question is to celebrate the birthday of Lucifer, or as they are also known, Satan, who was born as Satan when he was cast from heaven by God, and at least they used the capital G there. There's some details about this cake that are hideous. It is supposed to have a picture of it with an upside down cross and Satan hovering over it. So it's utterly evil. Satanism is not a religion. It's not. It is a cult, a death cult, similar to another religion that I won't mention, or we will get banned probably from the airwaves here. But you know, there's not enough evil in the world. We just finished the Las Vegas massacre.
Right, witnessing the Las Vegas massacre where, you know, a guy obviously possessed by Satan, obviously just full of evil in his heart.
Right.
Staked out for who knows, months, a year, who knows how long, to attack this country music festival. Killing, 59 people and injuring 550. So. And then you had leftists that said, I don't care if they die. They were Trump supporters. You actually had some prominent leftists saying that. I think it was an elected official who said she didn't care. Was it an elected official? Who said she didn't care if they died. It was it was that attorney for CBS.
Oh, that's right.
An attorney for CBS News.
That got fired.
It got fired, yeah. Let me read this other part, honey, of the email.
Okay.
You know, just kind of sick and twisted mentality.
So this is an email from the Satanist customer to the Christian baker.
I thought I would seek you out to bake this cake, since you appear to be a very moral person, since you refuse to bake a cake for same-sex couples. And since religion is a protected class, I hope you will be willing to bake this cake so my small group of religious friends can celebrate the birthday of Lucifer this coming November, just a few days after Halloween.
So disingenuous.
Disingenuous,
so
completely.
Sly, and, you know, the left is so deceitful and dishonest. But there are some cultural warriors that are fighting the good fight. And coincidentally, the same day that came out, Janine Turner has an excellent piece that I would highly recommend. Conservative actor Janine Turner. She hasn't been in anything for a while, but she is an Emmy and Golden Globe nominated actress. She was in Friday Night Lights.
The television
we are
series.
Actually Friday Night Lights cultists. That's one of probably the only cult word.
It's a positive one.
And she was maybe best known for Northern Exposure as well. But she has a website that is focused on teaching the Constitution to young people. I don't have the name of that right in front of me. But I'm just going to read you a little bit. This is at the Daily Caller. It's an op-ed by Janine Turner. And it's entitled, American Righteousness Has Lost Its Anchor. And I'm reading. The absolute takedown zealotry that is permeating American society today is trending toward dangerous territory. What kind of people have we become? With a collective frenzied zest for perfection in all thoughts, politics, religion, speech, and behavior, we are reverting back to a mindset of superiority abhorred by Jesus. The unattainability of a perfectly pure robotic conformity, which my commentary would say is communism, that's what the left wants, within all social mores leads to a non-compos mentis community that ironically cultivates vice instead of virtue. Now that's powerful.
Yeah.
Because that is, as a society, what we have degraded to. Vice instead of virtue. You never hear anybody talk. They took virtue, morality out of the schools. Can't teach it.
Can't talk about it.
No. The once noble American quest for justice has become an American disgrace. Insolent hypocrisy has led the court at large to rush with rocks in hand to, quote, righteously stone the sinner with the weight of a public scorning. Feigning virtue, the mobs, instead of rational, reasonable retribution based upon the law, seize and will not relinquish their prey until they are utterly devastated. She could have mentioned Antifa there. They take the soul of the sinners, stamp it on Twitter, stomp it to pieces on Facebook, and relentlessly sensationalize it with urgent news alerts. No revival, no air, no grace, no mercy, no life beyond the cleansing. These dark, sinister, godless energies permeate through televisions, radios, smartphones, leaving a national epidemic of suicide and drug addiction in its wake. It is foolish pride that the Avengers think they are far better than past, quote, uncivilized eras, when radicals were stoned to death, nailed to the cross, burned, tortured, tarred and feathered, beheaded, and hung from trees. Today, the torture and shame is ruthlessly inflicted by the unyielding 24-hour news cycle of virtual stoning, burning, and hanging. And here's the kicker, but it goes on. Highly recommend it at the Daily Caller. The secular haven of American righteousness has lost its anchor. The ultimate arbiter of justice. God. God, who on earth has the capability to know how God weighs sin. Is bloodthirsty vengeance a virtue? Do vicious viral attacks, simulating a pack of wolves devouring their prey, make the righteous better than the sinner? And she goes on, and she is spot on that.
Right, and the website that she runs, and I believe her daughter works on it with her. It started as a teenager. Is Constituting America. Constitutingamerica.org. Go check it out. It's great.
Yep, constitutingamerica.org. Okay, speaking of culture warriors, we have another one here. Here's Judge Roy Moore today.
If you've never heard Judge Roy Moore, the Ten Commandments judge, the one who boldly, bravely stood up for religious freedom, and you know what? They kicked him out of his judgeship. The people voted him back in.
Twice.
This is twice. Alabama running for the seat vacated by Jeff Sessions. If you've never heard him speak, you are in for a treat. The man is amazing and inspiring.
So he says here, among other things, when you forget God, you forget your rights, your heritage, your freedoms, and it's just excellent. The whole speech was excellent. We're not going to play the whole thing, obviously, for sake of time, but we're going to play a short segment here for your listening pleasure.
They asked me, well, what's all this talk about God? Don't you know God's not acceptable in this system of political arena? Well, I'm going to tell you, when you forget God, you can forget politics. When you forget God, you forget, just like it says, your heritage, your rights, your freedoms. For me, it's a question of freedom or slavery. This is an awful moment for our country. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time as this, I would consider myself guilty of treason toward my country.
Amen.
An act of disloyalty toward the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings.
And what you just heard there is the reason why the left, the godless pagan left, the Satanists, hate Judge Roy Moore.
Yep, hate him.
Because if we actually return to these values, it will make America great again.
It is natural for man to indulge in the illusion of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against the painful truth and listen to the song of the siren till she has bound us hand and foot. Shall we gather strength by our resolution and action? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our back and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies have bound us hand and foot? We must act. We must fight. And appeal to God is our only hope. We've got to go back to God. We've got to go back to the Constitution.
So that's just a little bit of a clip. You can get that on our YouTube channel at the Politistics YouTube channel. There's two very good segments of that, and we're going to what?
I was just going to say, remember, I think it was Chuck Todd, a.k.a. Chuck Fraud by the Burke Brigade, known as Chuck Fraud by the Burke Brigade, who attacked Judge Roy Moore after his victory and said he doesn't understand the Constitution because he says that our rights come from God.
Which is what the founding fathers in our founding documents absolutely
made perfectly clear.
And why do they come from God? Because when you set the situation up where they don't come from God, guess what? Man comes along and invariably evil, power-hungry mankind comes along and takes them away. So that's one of the things that's unique about our great country, is that our rights come from God, even though the useful idiots on the left, many of them anyway, do not recognize that. Okay, so also at the Values Voter Summit, this is just a great clip. Dana Loesch, who is a conservative badass, it would be great if men in this country had balls as big as Dana Loesch. So this is just great. Now I'm just going to play a minute of this, but it leads into her talking about Harvey Weinstein, and she asked the question, where are the real men in Hollywood?
Yep.
You know, where was George Clooney when this was going on?
Well,
where was Ben Affleck when this was?
We've learned
he was doing his own groping.
and we've learned that George Clooney has been accused of racial and sexual harassment as well.
Yeah. So she's going completely against the grain here. Not only is she going to say that feminism is dead, you know, to pull a Bill Clinton back in the day, the age of feminism is over, but she is totally crushing the leftist, commie, social justice warriors who say that masculinity is toxic. And they're trying to crush masculinity, which we talked about this. This is one of the reasons why they're trying to crush the NFL.
Right. And trying to make our next generation of men be like Pajama Boy.
Yep. Okay, so let's listen. This is just such good red meat.
We are in a post-feminist era. Feminism is dead. It is dead as a doornail. It is dead. Feminism is dead.
And that is a declarative statement.
Third wave feminism it has betrayed our culture. Third wave feminism exists to subjugate men.
Wow.
Period. They have replaced the patriarchy with the matriarchy. And
Boom.
they are not a good master.
Boom.
I look at this. Third wave feminism says it empowers women, empowers them by convincing women to commit genocide against the female sex in utero. And that's what it is. It is a genocide.
There's an inconvenient truth right there.
It is a genocide. And it's especially a genocide of black babies, which was Margaret Sanger's goal.
Right.
Third wave feminism tells us that masculinity is toxic. Masculinity isn't toxic. Masculinity is marvelous.
When's the last time you heard anybody say that? I mean, it is so politically incorrect to say that. And we talk about this stuff all the time. We're short for time here. We're running an abbreviated version of the Burke Brigade. But it's just so refreshing to hear that, because you never, ever
and
hear
remember
that.
remember some of the memes after the horrible floods from Hurricane Harvey in my hometown of Houston. And I'll never forget the image of this one big, strong man,
masculine man,
carrying a woman and her baby through the floods to safety. Masculinity saved lives,
right,
in Houston.
Right.
The men from Louisiana who went down I-10 with their boats. What were they called? The Cajun Navy.
Yeah.
To rescue people. The people in the big, huge monster trucks. You know, who went to rescue people. Right, because it was needed. Pajama Boy wouldn't have done that.
No,
Pajama Boy couldn't have done that.
No, Pajama Boy probably, sadly, did not make it in that flood. You needed manly men with big muscles and lots of testosterone. Let's listen to Dana.
As a mother of sons, as a wife, as a granddaughter, as a daughter, men are wonderful and they are unappreciated. And you can mansplain all you want to, because we womansplain enough. God bless you, men.
Just Wonderful. And that's why the left, I mean, not only is she one of the best protectors of the Second Amendment in America, but she's fighting the culture wars too, and taking the feminazis straight on, so you got to love that. Speaking of feminazis, Hillary Clinton did an interview, part of it that was aired today, in which she was asked about progressive pervert Harvey Weinstein.
One of her big money donors.
Right.
And very good friends.
And you wouldn't believe, I mean, in a New York Minute, she turned this around to an attack on Trump.
And lightning didn't strike her. Shocking.
Amazing. I mean, when we get to heaven, we're going to ask God, why didn't you strike her? Okay, so she actually has the gall to say that we have an admitted assaulter.
Sexual assaulter, she claims.
Yeah, in the Oval Office, in the White House.
Yeah, all because of some off-color comment that Trump made in a video.
Right. The grab him by the...
Your reaction when you first read those allegations?
About Weinstein.
I was shocked and appalled because I've known him through politics, as many Democrats have. He's been a supporter.
Yeah.
He's been a funder, and, for all of us, for Obama, for me, for people who've run for...
We all do it. Everybody does it. You can't... They do that to try to scatter. They're like cockroaches scattering. You can't point to any one of us because it's all of us. Okay, well, throw all of you under the bus then.
For office in the United States. This kind of behavior cannot be tolerated anywhere, whether it's in entertainment, politics.
Well,
after all, we have someone admitting to being a sexual assaulter in the Oval Office.
Hillary, do you forget who your husband is? Do you forget? I will never forget when we heard, what was his name? He used to be on Fox, was a right-hand person of the Clintons. Dick
Morris?
Dick Morris. When Dick Morris, who was in the Clinton administration, who was an advisor or something, when he talked about when Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas, about Bill Clinton having people bring him women. When he talked about Bill Clinton basically chasing him down, running out, I don't know what the scenario was, and then tackling him because, I don't know, he didn't want him to share something or other. I mean, your husband has been accused of sexual assault, has been accused of sexual harassment, has been accused of rape, and your response all those times was to attack the women,
right,
call them trailer park trash.
The Nuts and Sluts campaign.
The Nuts and Sluts campaign. You and John Podesta, who continue to do so. You were asked about
James Carville.
You were asked about this on the campaign by a young millennial woman about your husband's victims. Whether they had the right to be believed. Remember, she had something about all sexual assault victims.
Yeah, she tweeted this.
Have the right. She had it on her website
How did
too.
she sleep
have
at
the
night?
right to be believed. And then after she was confronted, and she said, well, until they're proven not to be true, because they just rake these women through the coals,
but none of hers
rake them all over again in the court of public opinion. And she removed that part from her website when that woman confronted her on that.
And of course,
your husband, who used the most powerful man in the world, who used his position to begin a sexual affair with a 21-year-old intern, and in which he did things similar to Harvey Weinstein in the Oval Office.
Yep. And the reason they use, the Clintons have been famous for this for decades, the Triple D, the Deflect, Deny, and Destroy campaign. They destroy these poor women that were victims of sexual predator Bill Clinton, the Democrat icon, is because they want to they know there's more out there, and they want to discourage more women from coming forward. But nevertheless, the Republicans somehow have a war on women.
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh said something very interesting this morning. He said, because a lot of people have said, why didn't these women come forward, before? Now, what most people believe is that they wanted the fame and fortune, and so they went along with it and they kept their mouths shut. The few women that did try to say something, that reached a settlement, didn't really have a Hollywood career because they wouldn't go along to get along and do what Harvey Weinstein and others wanted them to do. But he said, maybe they were I mean, Hillary, they saw what happened to Bill Clinton's accusers. They saw what the Clinton machine did to his accusers.
Right.
I mean, Hillary Clinton, she has the gall to say she was appalled. Let us remind you, Hillary, when you were an attorney and you were representing a rapist. Now, granted, we know that if you took that blood money from an accused rapist, of which there was a bunch of evidence that he did what he did, that's on your conscience. But she was mocking and ridiculing his 12-year-old victim. She was caught on tape mocking and ridiculing his 12-year-old victim and tried to say she was asking for it. And the woman who the media ignored during the presidential campaign said that her life basically was ruined by that whole thing.
Shameful.
Not
I
just
don't know
the rape,
how,
but how she was treated.
I don't know how these people sleep at
I don't
night.
either.
I mean, I couldn't get up there and say that kind of stuff and then, go back and sleep at night. They somehow are so evil that they just turn off their conscience. Okay, we're going to shift gears here. Enough of Hillary's being a complete liar. Ted Cruz took a well-deserved shot at Mitch McConnell. Now, he didn't mention him by name, but when you say that the problems in getting stuff done is originating, or the problem is the U.S. Senate, who is leading the U.S. Senate?
Obama's Mitch.
Obama's Mitch. Mitch McConnell. Hashtag ditch Mitch. So let's listen to Ted Cruz here. He appeared today on the Squawk Box on CNBC, and he's saying that tax reform may not get done until next year, and Obamacare, who knows? And if they don't get some of this stuff, these major things done, that it could be a bloodbath for Republicans in 2018. So let's take a look.
And it's like wrangling cats in the Senate right now.
Look, Joe, you have a good reason to be cynical. And a lot of people across the country are ticked off. We've got a Republican president, Republican heads of every agency, Republican majorities in both houses of Congress, and right now we're not delivering. We're not getting the job done, and people are frustrated. I'm frustrated. I promise you, as frustrated as you are, I'm banging my head into it every day. And I think we've got an incredible opportunity, an opportunity that doesn't happen very often. Unified control of government for Republicans historically has been quite rare. And it has been the Senate that hasn't been able to deliver. You look over Obamacare, those were maddening. And we were not able, we've got an excruciatingly narrow majority, 52 Republicans. That means if any 3 Republicans jump ship, we're toast. Wrangling together 50 out of 52 Republicans with this very diverse, fractious conference is not easy. All of that being said, I believe we will get tax reform done. I think
This year?
I think it'll either be late this year or early next year. I think we're early in the debate. It's going to take at least a couple of months just to wrangle out. There are a lot of back and forths that are going to happen in tax reform. But I do think virtually every Republican wants to get to yes. And I think that's a really important precondition to getting it done.
Yes on what? Meaning what do you think it ultimately looks like? Are we talking about a 20% corporate tax rate? Is that the number that you think could actually get passed? Most of the conversation, at least that I've heard, at least behind the scenes, has been at 23, maybe 24, or 20, something like that. And then how do you deal with the individual rates?
Look, I hope we see a big tax cut. I hope we lower the corporate rate. I'd like to see the corporate rate, yes, at 20. I'd like to see it at 15. I'd like to see real tax cuts for working men and women. I think we need to be, the test for delivering is, are we delivering to the plumber in Michigan? Are we delivering to the single mom waiting tables in Texas? And if we are, that's a good tax cut. Now the things that matter on that are A, individual rates that people are paying. But B, I think front and center, the biggest concern should be jobs and economic growth. That we need pro-growth tax cuts. We need tax cuts. And by the way, the word cut is important. I think this should be an unapologetic tax cut. Not just tax reform, but a real tax cut generate booming economic growth.
So there you go. So we're going to wrap up here on this special Friday the 13th edition of the Burke Brigade. There were some very important things that happened today that we don't have time to get into. You can go to thelibertydaily.com.
Your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report.
To read those, thelibertydaily.com. There's stories up there, important stories like President Trump designates Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group. That's a big deal. There's just a lot of really, really great stories that you will totally enjoy and that you need to know as an American to be informed. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Burke Brigade.
God bless you guys.
We will see you Monday. God bless America.
God bless America.